Awesome. Hi, I'm Chloe from Brit and Co. I am so excited to talk to you about this movie. Writer director movies are like my favorite. So first off, congratulations.
Thank you. Also, I just have to say your ring light is ring lighting. Like you look beautiful. I was like, I'm like the light. I'm like, can you please set up my home setup? Because when I'm not professionally lit, I do not look like you.
Oh my goodness, thank you so much. That's so kind. So one thing about this film that I just loved was the whole idea of returning home during the holidays and running into everyone you've ever met. It kind of made me feel seen, honestly. Do you have any advice for viewers who might be in that same position who are about to run into so many people from their past lives?
Oh my gosh, it's such a chaotic night. I'm like, I don't know what my advice is because I made a whole movie about how chaotic it is. I'm like, like drink water.
Right.
Switch water every other drinks. No, I think um know that probably everyone else who you're running into is having the same sort of weird combination of like nerves and nostalgia as you. And so embrace it as a communal experience. If you feel stressed out and weird and crazy, you're not alone.
Absolutely. That's incredible advice. And Sweethearts is definitely like the perfect holiday season cozy movie. Do you have a go-to cozy movie when you want all the good feels?
I mean, I definitely am a super fan of When Harry Met Sally, which is why we use a clip of it in the movie. And I that
Right.
movie always makes me feel like it's so like the sweaters and like the style and like it always reminds me of the fall. So that's a go-to. My family and I every year watch Best in Show on Thanksgiving because of the it's like the movie that takes place at the Westminster Dog Show and that always happens on Thanksgiving. Um Obviously, The Holiday is like one of my favorite Nancy Meyers movies that I always have to watch in December. Um, yeah, I think those are some of my favorite fall movies. And then a rewatch of Gilmore Girls is mandatory for the fall.
Absolutely. Okay, all of those are on my checklist, so we should set up a movie night.
Yeah,
Honestly, those are
perfect.
great options. And I was actually going to ask about When Harry Met Sally. Also huge super fan of that film. Did you pull inspiration from any other titles, considering that one has such a huge nod in the movie?
Yeah, I would say of the sort of like teen buddy comedy genre,
Mhm.
that Superbad is one of my favorite movies, and that I think Superbad and When Harry Met Sally were definitely two of our North Stars. And we
Mhm.
kind of, Dan and I had a lot of conversations where we're like, okay, what if you gave like Superbad or Booksmart the sort of like male-female friendship When Harry Met Sally treatment, but in
Yeah.
the shape of one of those like kind of raucous buddy comedy night where everything goes wrong type of
Mm.
movies and like in that canon. So those were super influential. John Hughes is one of my favorite directors as well. And we pulled a lot from Ferris Bueller's Day Off. Again, that's another movie where, because so much of the plot of our movie does take place in one night, I was really drawn to films, like Dazed and Confused or Can't Hardly Wait or Ferris Bueller's Day Off, where like an adventure is unfolding in a really limited span of time and the characters are having like a pretty complete emotional arc happen through this one crazy day or one crazy night.
Mhm. Yes, absolutely. And I'm so fascinated of the behind the scenes aspect of bringing a movie to life from kind of concept idea to when it's released. Once you have a plot line, can you kind of talk about bringing the details to life? Because there's so much that makes a story three-dimensional in terms of personalities or town traditions. Can you kind of talk about kind of bringing those, those details to life for the final product?
Yeah, I had a mentor who I worked with on a television show who used to always tell me, start with what you know, because it can
Mm.
be really overwhelming if you feel like, oh my gosh, I have 100 minutes of details to figure out all at once. So, kind of start with the biggest pieces. I'm a really visual person. I have a giant whiteboard in my house, and Dan and I, we prop up the whiteboard because I haven't figured out how to hang it because it's really big. And so we pop it up, we lean the whiteboard against the wall,
Right.
and we write, okay, like what are the scenes that we're like sure of? Like we know that we want to meet them in college. We know we want to get to this point where they kiss. We know we want to get to this point where they decide not to be together. We know we want to get to this point where, things go wrong on the way home. And then just sort of we Dan and I's style is like we really like we're such heart to hearters. Like we really like to talk everything out, and then we kind of just keep adding to this what starts as a really vague outline that might only have three or four plot points on it until it gets more and more and more detailed. And eventually we have a beat sheet where almost the whole story exists in sort of bullet points. And when we start turning that into a script, getting into the nitty gritty of those bullet points is really where we find some funny details. So we're like, okay, we know that this bullet point is Ben and Jamie have a car ride with Ben's parents. But like now let's talk about really funny things from our own lives about like awkward car rides we've had with our parents. Or what
Yeah.
if the mom had sort of your mom's personality and the dad had sort of my dad's personality and filling in that way. But yeah, it's pretty methodical, I would say. Like start with what you know, expand from there, and then dive into your details.
Yes. Oh my goodness. I could talk about screenwriting forever. I love that. And considering how much I laughed throughout the movie, I can only imagine how funny and buzzy it was on set. Were there any moments that didn't make it into the final cut that are really memorable to you? Or can you kind of talk about just what it was like in between takes, bringing the story to life?
I mean, I really hope that people have truly half as much fun watching this movie as we had making it because we had the goofiest, happiest set. It felt like we shot over a summer and it felt like being at camp. I will say shout out to Nico, who was definitely our on-set DJ, who had a wireless speaker with him on his cast chair at all times. So like the second we would call cut, he was like grabbing the speaker, like blasting the tunes. I have so many funny videos of Kiernan and Nico just like dancing it out in the middle of the night because we were shooting mostly like all throughout the nights, like
Mm,
on night shoots. Um, and you gotta find creative ways to keep the energy up at 4 in the morning.
absolutely.
So lots of on-set dance parties. I think some of the funniest stuff that didn't make it in is probably just all the different improv that our actors would try. One of my favorite parts in the movie is when Ava Demary sings the national anthem, and it's only in there for about 15 seconds. But I truly was like, we need to release like the full 4 minute performance because it got so unhinged. And like also just like all of Caleb's like faces that he was making
Yeah.
at her when she was singing. Um, and yeah, I mean, I know I have to find out if we are gonna cut like a blooper reel. We definitely there were definitely nights when everybody got the giggles. Um, there was a scene where we were filming. It's like doesn't have any audio in the movie, but it's like a push in on the Thanksgiving dinner table when
Mm.
Nico's having dinner with his family and the extra who was playing his grandfather who's sitting next to him. Like Nico could not stop laughing at this man. Like they were whatever sort of like side conversation they were pretending to have, he just kept burst out laughing. I was like, Nico, you're supposed to be sad in the scene. And he was like, the guy playing my grandpa's so funny.
Like, get it together.
But no, it was a really it was a really good vibe on set and people, there was definitely like nights where everyone was trying to, when I say everyone, the actors would like kind of be pranking each other. And yeah, it felt like all of these real friendships were forming as we were making the movie. And then that was
Mm.
just enhancing the friendships on screen.
Yeah, absolutely. It definitely comes through. I love that.
And we did a lot of karaoke on the weekends and like Jersey City karaoke bars because we filmed the movie in New Jersey.
And final question. I would be remiss to not tell you how excited my entire team is for Freakier Friday. We cannot stop talking about it. Is there anything that you can tease for viewers who are also excited?
Um, well, I know I can tease this because Lindsay mentioned it when she was interviewed by Jimmy Fallon this week
Okay,
that there's gonna be maybe a Pink Slip appearance in this movie. Everyone's favorite fictional girl band.
absolutely.
So, I may or may not have gotten to go to set and been around some Pink Slip energy. It may or may not have excited my inner child beyond belief. Because I was a super fan. I was 10 years old when the first movie came out. So 20 years later to get to work on the sequel as part of that team was a dream. And don't meet your heroes unless your heroes are Lindsay Lohan and Jamie Lee Curtis, in which case they're amazing. Meet your heroes.
I love that. Well, congratulations on Sweethearts. I'm so excited for people to see it. And thank you for chatting with me.
Thank you so much. So nice talking to you.
You too.